We are up, I believe. Welcome to the Carolina Weather Group. We are breaking in for a tornado warning that has just been issued for portions of the PD region of South Carolina. This is going to include Dillon and Marion counties. This is in northeastern South Carolina until 8:15 p.m. So another 20 minutes or so. There was a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado, and we have it up here on radar as well, located over Mullins, moving northeast at 15 miles per hour. This dangerous storm will be near Kemper around 8:05 and Lakeview at 8:15 p.m. Other locations that could be impacted by this severe thunderstorm, possibly producing a tornado, would be Nichols. Again, this is for northern Marion and Dillon counties in South Carolina. This is going to be passing over into North Carolina here in just the next little bit. But again, this is a tornado warning, and we have radar up where you can see the velocities. Definitely a signature there of some rotation. We have inbound and outbound winds. This is going to be just to the northwest of Nichols, almost riding parallel to Highway 9 here in the area. So if you are in this area, it's always a great thing to be in the lowest level of your home. You want to put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. And that means in most centralized place. Maybe it's a hallway, maybe it's a closet or something like that. If you don't have a basement, you definitely want to be in those areas. And again, this is going to be for Marion and Dillon counties. And again, this thunderstorm moving slowly around 15 miles per hour. And Jared, I believe, is here. He is operating the radar, so you probably won't see much of him. But Jared, this whole area has kind of been inundated with some thunderstorms throughout the day. Mm-hmm. And a few of these storms have been showing rotation throughout the day. And we finally, this is the first tornado warning of the day.
Yep, and we've had, and again, we're right on the border of a 2% region here from the Storm Prediction Center, so this is not completely out of the question. I know this is going to obviously, shock some people and be like, oh my goodness, I wasn't expecting tornadoes today, and there was a very small chance, and so we're seeing that small chance. That's kind of what happens here. So, pulling up the radar here, it looks like this is about to cross into Dillon County. You can see here's South Carolina Highway 9 right here, stretching from Lakeview down to Nichols. That was probably the worst highlighting job in the history of highlighting jobs, but it gets the job done. And there's your rotation. We have the reds showing the outbound winds. The radar is it's over that away here, and the green is the inbound winds here. And you get that tight couplet together. And this is a pretty this is a pretty impressive couplet. If we I'm gonna put the velocity in motion here, you can see that was very tight here with some data drops in the center there. So this is very, very tight here. A little while ago, we'll see if there was any debris lofted. It does not look like that is the case, thank goodness. We can use the correlation coefficient to say, hey, has this storm started lofting debris? That is not happening, which is good news. But again, this is going to get very close to Nichols. This is going to get very kind of split the difference between Nichols and Lakeview. So South Carolina Highway 9 between Nichols and Lakeview, not a good idea right now to be on that road, as it looks like, some sort of circulation. Again, no full confirmation that this has been on the ground, but it could happen at any time. So radar indicated tornado. Looks like they just updated it a little bit. So they trimmed out some of Marion County. So Mullins, you're good. All clear in Mullins for the tornadic circulation. And it looks like they also tweaked the box a little bit to just miss to the center of the town of Nichols. And so this is very close now to the Dillon and Marion County line. This is so for those of you who are not familiar, this is Marion right here. And you can see my terrible handwriting here. And then this is Dillon right here. So this is Dillon. And then at this point, you're getting into North Carolina. So we'll see if this rotation persists and if a new warning is needed downstream. The velocity couplet is pretty tight. Looks pretty good. And Scotty, I'd be remiss if I didn't note that there seems to be a second one developing north of Rains right here. So showing a little bit of a BWER signature. So we'll have to see what the Weather Service does with that. But we may be very possible that we may be dealing with a second circulation here before too long. You can see there's a little bit of a loss in reflectivity here. This is the bounded weak echo region that is a kind of a little donut hole. Not the best looking donut hole we've seen on radar, but certainly is there. That's certainly a sign that we may have something rotating there. And again, we have our broad rotation here and a little bit weaker rotation north of Rains. This isn't warned, to be clear. I want to make sure that that's clear. This isn't warned, but it's certainly something that you're going to want to watch. Actually, we just called you all clear in Mullins, but this rotation is going to head right into that confluence of US 76 and let me get the crossroad here. I believe that's South Carolina 41. So something to watch there for sure. Let's get real tight on the roads here. And again, this is just across. We're very, very close now to the Marion County line, the Dillon County line, excuse me, town of Dillon. So if I-95, town of Dillon, those areas, you're fine. I want to make sure that that is well understood as well. We don't have any issues there right now. You're actually probably pretty quiet as the circulation is passing to the southeast. So right now, if you're on I-95, this is east of I-95. No concerns there. I'm just getting a quick look and see if I can't pull any additional detail from this, but I don't think I can. So again, this is this is right now. This circulation is right now just crossing the Marion and Dillon County line. And then there might be something trying to get going behind it. We don't have any warning on this, but you can see a little bit of you can see the very most little bit of inflow there. And there is your donut hole, your BWER, bounded weak echo region. So that's certainly something that we're going to want to keep an eye on. That's not warned again, but Mullins, just be advised that that is something that we have an eye on.
Yeah, and Jared,
yep.
looking at some of the smaller communities, I've pulled up the Google Maps here. So if you know anybody that lives in Fork or High Hills Crossroads, Lakeview, Kemper, next to the Lumber River, all these locations, even Jared, you were mentioning as this could move into North Carolina soon. So if you live in the Fair Bluff community, Marietta, this is along Highway 904, Highway 76, and Highway 41. So kind of some of the and Highway 9, some of the more traveled areas in this region of South Carolina. You definitely want to be in those safe places. And again, lowest level of your home, put as many walls between you and the outside. This is most likely going to be rain wrapped. You're not going to be able to see a condensed funnel. It's just going to be looking like a wall of water moving into your area. So you're not going to be able to visually see this tornado. I don't believe, as just looking at the radar presentation, it looks to be pretty rain wrapped. So, and this area yesterday, as it moves into North Carolina, saw some tornadoes. So kind of an environment yesterday and today conducive of a small chance of tornadoes, and we do have this warning. And again, nothing confirmed, no damage coming in. I've been monitoring the National Weather Service out of Wilmington. No reports of damage coming into the office, and this is radar indicated. No visual confirmation, Jared. So, but the storm is showing some rotation and enough to prompt this tornado warning as it continues to move into near the North Carolina, South Carolina line.
Yeah. This is, and this has been really persistent. And looking at another source of radar, while you were filling everybody in, Scotty, I was taking a look at another source of radar, and one of the tools that we use over there is the normalized rotation product, and we're getting close to values of 1. That's pretty significant. I mean, that's that's nothing to shake at. It's not the strongest we've covered here, but it's certainly nothing to shake a stick at, and it can. And the thing to keep in mind is that this could intensify even further at any time. And that's why the warning is out, because, this is showing, some decently, this is pretty decent rotation here. Have a little data drop in the middle there. One of the telltale signs of potential strengthening rotation is when you get these black pixels kind of right in the middle of the circulation. That can be an indicator that the velocity data had some trouble getting back because it's getting stronger. So that is certainly something that we're going to want to monitor as time goes on. But again, this is very close to South Carolina Highway 9 between Lakeview and Nichols. Nichols proper, you're okay. Lakeview proper, you're in the polygon. You should take cover. But it looks like this is trying to split the difference here as it gets. And again, this is not a fast mover by any stretch of the imagination. So we want people to take shelter, and we want y'all to get into a safe place as soon as possible. But I think it's worth noting that this is not a fast mover at all. In fact, the rotation signature is just now crossing the county line. So we've got we've got this this circulation here. There is a second circulation that I'm watching. It's definitely not as strong, definitely not as well pronounced south of Mullins, southwest of Mullins, and that is going to head into Mullins. And it's shown signs of trying to organize a little bit. Again, we've got a fairly decent corridor of instability here. I'm going to using yet another source of data here, and I'm going to pull up some of our parameters here. Unfortunately, I can't project this out for you, but we do have a small little maximized area of significant tornado parameters of 1 here. So this is again, this is very likely. Not saying that it will produce a tornado, but it certainly has a look, Scotty. I mean, it has a look, and we're watching the correlation coefficient very closely, just hoping that we don't see that drop that indicates the potential for debris being lofted. We don't have any of that right now, but again, the thing about radar is that it's showing you what's already happened. Right. So keep in mind that we're looking at this sweep. This is from 806. It's now 808. So I think the thing to keep in mind here is that this is showing us what has happened, and this could produce something at any time. And while the radars are getting around a lot faster than they used to, as far as sweeps and stuff, you can still get little pop-ups, and you can still get little issues that start that spin up and down and can still evade the radar scan. So again, if you're within this warning, lowest floor, interior room, bathroom, closet, hallway, bring a helmet, bring some some closed-toed shoes, and get everybody in bike helmets if you got those. Also a good idea. And and we'll just and we'll wait this out together. That's you'll be all right. You don't have to bury yourself underground or anything like that. This is certainly very just, we want you to just be safe, and this is a better safe than the alternative. So again, just kind of flipping back and forth here. We have the main lead storm here about on top of about Highway 9 at this point.
And Jared, just looking at some of the latest data there, as you've got up, we're starting to see some uptick in lightning in both areas where we've been highlighting, especially this tornado warning. Some lightning starting to really begin to ramp up over Fair Bluff into the Marietta regions or towns of North Carolina, but also that southern or that secondary area near just south of Mullins. We're starting to see some lightning uptick with that as well. Both of these are moving to the northeast around 15 miles per hour. So as Jared was talking about, these are very slow moving, and especially the storm that is around Highway 9 near the Lakeview area. This is going to be surrounded by a lot of rain as well, a lot of heavy rain. So again, you're not going to visually see a tornado if there was one there. This is going to be completely surrounded by rain. So it's best to heed the warning and to seek shelter, lowest level. Put as many walls between you and the outside. We've got another 5 minutes for this warning, and we are monitoring it. No indication yet, Jared, from the Weather Service. I've been monitoring the chat there of any extension of this, so we'll continue to watch that. I'm going to pop into the Raleigh office because I can't remember where the jurisdiction is going to come in and end. So I'll have the Raleigh office up as well. So
Yeah.
um,
Scotty, I have that map over here. I think we're gonna be in ILM's territory for some time yet. So don't
okay,
worry about Raleigh just yet. We've got plenty of time in Wilmington's territory here. So quick radar update is as we go again. It's about 8:11 p.m. The rotation is still pretty stout. Still looks really good on radar. Still no signs of anything down. So that is good news. We hope that continues. The circulation has now passed into Dillon County, into southeastern Dillon County. So again, this is pretty much right on top of Highway 9. Let me wrong button. So there's your circulation. Still very. I mean, this is nothing to shake a stick at here, folks.
So,
There's your outbounds and there's your inbounds right there.
So, Jared, we have just learned the tornado warning has expired. They're going to cancel it a little bit early, so we'll continue to
Okay.
monitor it for the next few minutes just to make sure, because we've done that in the past and it's ramped back up. So we'll follow it for another few minutes, but just to let
Yeah.
everyone know, the tornado warning has just now been canceled early. So
Cool. Yeah, no, that's good news. And again, taking a look at just some of the, just kind of peeking around at some of the observational data, some of the, just some of the model data there. There's a decent amount of instability, but but it also is going to be trending into an area that's a little more stable here, actually very shortly. So that should help continue to weaken it. But this corridor, I mean, ILM has been watching. By ILM, I mean Wilmington. They've been watching this area for the last little bit. I still am very interested to watch what's happening down in Mullins here. This is a little tiny guy, and I always get a little skeeved out by those, because those can take you by surprise, because they don't look very interesting. But they can do some stuff. And again, you look at this reflectivity signature. I mean, you got an inflow notch here. It's not a very strong inflow notch, but you have an inflow notch. So pretty strong storm on top of Mullins right now. Fortunately, this is going to move very quickly. Well, not very quickly, but quickly enough, right? Be interested if we have any viewers in Mullins and in northeastern South Carolina who can relay any information to us. That would be helpful. Be our eyes on the ground. Radar is only so good, as we very well know. So we have this storm over Mullins, and then there's the tornado warning polygon. It's dropped. There's still a special weather statement is going to persist here, and it does look like maybe that rotation might be weakening a touch too. So that's good news. Let me get the, well, yeah, at this point, again, we have, I mean, this is still the storm around Lakeview still, it still definitely has, it still definitely has a look that is concerning. However, I think the thinking is that we're just a little too stable towards the ground. We can't get this circulation to the ground. Yeah, so
hang on here. There's some conversation about
yeah,
the possibility of Robeson counties. So we'll hang on for just a little bit.
Yeah, let's just hang out. Let's see.
In fact, they said they've got one ready to go. They're just waiting for it to tighten up a little bit more. So
yeah, so let's control. We're going to hang out here a little bit, because I just got a feeling, because I know as soon as we clear the air, this is going to tighten back up, and we're just going to have to jump right back on. I just you just get that feeling sometimes. So the circulation that we were watching is still I mean, it's still looking fairly healthy with the NROT numbers. This is getting very close now to the North Carolina state line. This is pretty much due south of Lakeview at this point, and the area to watch is going to be Robeson County. Here in the next little bit, let me clear this data off real quick just so I can get my bearings. Yeah, so this is Dillon and then Robeson County, and then this is going to be very close to again, this is still going to be 15, 20 miles south of I-95. It's kind of running parallel to I-95. So no concerns for travelers on I-95 from the storm. But certainly something that we're going to want to watch now that it's crossed South Carolina 9. Probably have whatever circulation is there. It's probably just crossed South Carolina 9. Is about to cross the North Carolina South Carolina line, and then it's going to run into United States Highway 76 between Marietta and Fair Bluff. So I'm going to highlight that here. So this is perhaps the next zone where I would urge people to be cautious here if you live anywhere between Marietta and Fair Bluff. In North Carolina, I would keep an eye on this. I'm a little. No, excuse me. This is not 76. This is State Route 904. I apologize for the error there. This is State Route 904. So you kind of have to go real far in just to make sure that. But anywhere along State Route 904, let's see if I can get another identifier on this. Between Fair Bluff and Marietta, I would say keep a very close eye on this if you are living anywhere near there, because we still have a pretty decent. I mean, this is still a pretty decent rotation, and I don't think the Weather Service has totally written this one off yet. Based on some of the stuff that we're seeing, I know I certainly wouldn't write it off. In fact, I think this is. In fact, I do think this indeed is beginning to tighten up a little bit more. We have a little spike of normalized rotation at 1 now showing up. So with that in mind, we still need to keep an eye on this one. And while there's no imminent tornado danger, I will say that be a few steps from shelter. If you're anywhere between Fair Bluff and Marietta along North Carolina State Route 904.
I will say that secondary looks a little bit better. Still a little rotation in there, but it does look a little bit better than what we were looking at earlier. But I agree with you, Jared. That's the cell there along the North and South Carolina border near Fair Bluff. Definitely needs to be monitored. I wouldn't be surprised at all to see another warning issued as I'm looking at in-rot product as well, and there's a nice little spike there. So we'll continue to monitor that. Again, this is also going to be moving up. Jared was highlighting some of the roads, Highway 76 and then the Highway 74 corridor also within reach of this cell. And that is a pretty heavily traveled road if you're traveling from Charlotte to the North Carolina coast, with it being a Thursday evening, maybe some folks having a long weekend. If you know anyone traveling in this area, you just might want to give them a heads up. Sometimes people with satellite radio are not able to tune in to local radio, and maybe they have their WIA alerts turned off. So it's a good idea if you know anyone traveling Highway 76 or 74, especially if they're traveling off to the coast and may just not be aware of what's going on, to give them a heads up and say, hey, just be mindful of changing weather conditions as it kind of moves into more populated areas here in southeastern North Carolina.
Yeah, and I've got this highlighted here. It's about 13 miles away. This is moving at what it was moving at like 15 miles an hour or something like that. So again, it's not exactly banging on your door, but Boardman along Highway 74 here, certainly along 74, generally between roughly Proctorville and Chadburn and Boardman, kind of in the middle of that. Keep an eye on this. Again, this is the kind of thing that is, it's persistently circulating, and it certainly is not out of the realm of possibility that this could touch something off at least briefly. I think that's the other thing to keep in mind, is that we're not expecting long track supercell tornadoes, but for the people who are affected by them, it certainly feels that way. So we'll keep an eye on this. Scotty, I'm going to put this in motion. I'm going to get my lighting.
Okay, sure.
So people can see me. I'll be right back.
Definitely so. We'll take over. So we got the radar here in motion. And again, We were watching this storm. It was previously tornado warned just a few minutes ago. This is going to be moving into the Highway 76 area along the North and South Carolina border. So again, Marietta, Lakeview, Fair Bluff, eventually up to Proctorville and Boardman, Cerro Gordo, as well as Chadburn and Wyattville, all locations that just kind of need to keep an eye on this. The cell continues to rotate, but not as pronounced as it once was. So that's why the tornado warning was lifted. If you were with us yesterday, or on James Brierton was on coverage, it was around this time last night where we had another tornado warning or two pop up in kind of the same area. And so this area today was observed from the National Weather Service in Robeson and Columbus County. There was a few tornadoes reported there from yesterday's storms, both EF zeros. We'll have a report about that later on. So you kind of fast forward 24 hours to the current time right now. We're continuing to see these storms move through southeastern North Carolina and the PD region of South Carolina. Some of these storms showing some signs of rotation. Not only is this storm a concern, but if we kind of back out and look at the big grand scheme of things, this area has also received a lot of rainfall over the last 48 hours. In fact, a lot of these areas approaching 2 to 3 inches of rainfall. And I think we're going to get that storm. Yeah, Jared's going to pull up the rainfall totals as well. And you can kind of see this area has really been able to cash in on the rain, but we don't all want it at one time. But unfortunately, some locations are getting it. And Jared, you've got the product out. We're seeing some 7, 8, 9-inch totals in some of these areas where these storms are moving through.
Yeah, and this storm total starts a little after 5 a.m. on June 1st. So Tuesday morning. So this is since Tuesday morning. This is not all at once, but certainly, I mean, this is we've had a drought here. Okay. Yeah. And but the problem is that, you don't want to get it all back at once. And we have a very small corridor in which that appears to have happened. We'll also look at the last hour or so. And the big rain in the last hour has been where this tornado warning storm has been through Mullins, perhaps upwards of 2.5 inches of rain in the last hour in spots there. Splitting the difference between Lakeview and Nichols, 1 to 2 inches of rain. So certainly we love to see a little rain when we've been dealing with the kind of drought that we've been dealing with. But at the same time, we want to be mindful of the fact that you get too much rain, you get the runoff going on, and then then you got problems.
Well, and with the drought, the ground is so hard. A lot of this heavy rain, like you said, it kind of just runs off. And normally in a drought situation, you want those all day or 2-day rain events where it's just kind of light and it's able to absorb in. But you get 2 inches of rain on top of 3 or 4 inches throughout the last few days. A lot of this is just running off. So it wouldn't be surprised to probably some of these rural highways or creeks or things like that, probably showing some flooding as well. So you want to be mindful of that if you do live in this location. And these thunderstorms, Jared, what we call training, they're moving over the same location, and the same locations really like you showed there just a little bit ago on the accumulation map. Some of these locations just getting storm after storm after storm, and that's what we call training, and that's where we see these higher rainfall totals. So Mullins and Nichols up towards Marietta and Lakeview, all again, that's in the last hour, anywhere between 1 to 3 inches of rainfall with this storm. So,
yep. And again, that's radar estimated. We'll see what the gauges ultimately say, but the radars are pretty decent proxy for this. It tells us where it's been raining hard. So, so let's talk about why we're here real quick. We were here earlier for a tornado warning that was in South Carolina. That tornado warning has been dropped. It has not been reissued. But we are hanging on with you because we still see evidence of rotation on the radar about to cross the South Carolina state line. And this is heading very close to Route 904 between Lakeview and Fair Bluff and Marietta. So anywhere, Marietta, Fair Bluff, if you're on 904 right now, this could turn into a bit of a gusty ride for you at a minimum. And there's your rotation right there. And again, I want to stress we don't have any formal tornado warnings on this. You have, certainly has been something to watch. We've seen this thing kind of pulse up and down and up and down. In fact, I think it's on another downward trend right now, which we would like to see that continue. But we we just got to be we've got to be patient and watch this thing, because again, these things can tighten up real fast, drop something, pull it back up. And so we're going to keep an eye on this one very closely. Another area that is less concerning, but I'm keeping an eye on, is between Mullins and Nichols in South Carolina. This is basically right where we had the earlier tornado warning. This is rotating a little bit closer to the surface, but when I tilt up, that rotation looks a little bit stronger in the mid levels. So I think it seems to be trying to get to the ground, to the surface rather, a little closer to the surface. But again, there's no indication right now that there's anything on the ground. The good news is that through all of this, we've had no indications of any touchdowns. In fact, I'm really not seeing anything in the way of damage reports as of yet, which is
I haven't seen anything,
which is good news. But these are pretty potent storms. Fair bit of lightning with these. Keeping an eye on the very cold cloud tops on the satellite. They're not getting, it's not really warming up. So it certainly seems like that these updrafts have some life. So again, right now, pretty stormy, especially around just north of Fair Bluff. Nichols in South Carolina, between Lakeview, South Carolina, Nichols, Marietta, Fair Bluff. Those are kind of the areas of concern. This is roughly about 45 minutes or so from the core of this is about 45 minutes or so from the US 74 corridor. So certainly something that we're going to want to keep an eye on. So,
Jared, looking, they just issued a special weather statement on this. So winds of around 40 miles per hour, and again, gusty winds, small hail, and localized flooding. So, normally we get warnings or special weather statements. So they're kind of erring on the, I don't want to say the lower end of this. And so no warning, but continues a special weather statement with this cell as it continues to move into North Carolina.
Yeah. And that seems, prudent. Again, the chances are good that we're not really seeing a lot of this reach the ground. A lot of the stronger wind reach the ground. I mean, there's a little bit of I'm just looking at some of the instability fields here, and there's a fair bit of surface-based instability. Let's look at there's certainly instability there, but one of the things that we're lacking today is really, really strong wind shear. There is a little corridor, about 20 knots of shear here. So might be just enough to separate the updraft and downdraft interface, but it's probably not going to be unstable enough to bring this, not going to be necessarily strong enough to sustain any, real severe weather. I will note that, I'm looking at the Storm Prediction Center mesoscale analysis here. For the nerds out there, this is a really cool tool, updates fairly frequently, that shows us, the atmospheric fields and gives us some parameter space. It just helps us understand what's going on. And I will note that the storm is entering a corridor of a little bit more helicity, and that's the streamwise vorticity that gets, and that explains nothing to anybody. It's the twisting in the it's kind of that twisting of the atmosphere. It gets ingested into the thunderstorms, and then the way that tornado forms is that horizontal rotation gets tilted up by an updraft. But looks like the updrafts are not terribly strong. And again, we have decent mid-level rotation, but we're looking at this at 3,000 feet. So, what's happening at 3,000 feet is not what's happening on the ground. And in fact, as we lapse this a little bit more, the reflectivity values are really starting to fall off a little bit. So seeing a weakening trend here, they certainly do not look as organized as they did 20 minutes ago. We still have that, kind of scary looking mesocyclonic rotation, but it also seems to be getting a little more elongated, a little more broad, which is continued good news. and hopefully all you get is a gusty thunderstorm. That's what we're after here. We only want a gusty thunderstorm. So I mean, it looks like that's probably what we've got in store for you. But we want people to keep an eye on this.
Definitely looking, kind of just widening the view here. We do have a front that's going to be moving into the area. So there is a line of thunderstorms south of Charlotte, between Charlotte and Columbia. We're getting ready to move over the Interstate 77 corridor. Nothing severe with that, but definitely some gusty winds and some lightning from Newberry over to Saluda to Winnsboro, as that line moves in south of Charlotte and kind of north of Columbia. We've got the radar pulled up here. So that's probably going to get a nice lightning show if you live in Columbia. I just saw a tweet. I was going through Twitter to see if we had any damage reports. I didn't see any, but I did see our friend Chris Jackson say he was going out to get some lightning shots from this line that's getting ready to move in. So probably we get some lightning and some gusty thunderstorms along Interstate 77 here shortly. But Jared, I think I agree with you that those cells that we were watching in the PD region kind of giving up the ghost for now.
And of course, as soon as I say that, something's going to probably pop something out. But no, I don't see any evidence of that. I mean, this certainly is starting to cycle down a little bit. It certainly is not looking as impressive as it was. Cloud tops on this are pretty cold, but but it's we got some lightning kind of near the core of the updraft here. So it's not to say that this is not going to be a decent thunderstorm. I think that is pretty fair to say. But looking just at the last few scans, and especially the scan that just came in, I'm going to switch back to Wilmington for y'all so I can illustrate kind of what I'm talking about here. But there's your storm. There's your special weather statement box there. In fact, I should be able to, let me see something here. I don't think I can do that yet. No, I can't do that yet. That's 4.4. I don't have that yet. No, radar scope 4.4 is in beta, and I'm hoping they release it soon. Anyway, but all that to say is that this was our rotation, and it's looking a lot less organized at this point. You still have the outbounds here. You still have a little bit of the inbounds here, but this is looking nothing like it was when this was tornado warned in South Carolina about 25, 30 minutes ago.
Yes, it looks a whole lot better. I think, like you said earlier, probably some gusty thunderstorms, but I believe the tornado threat has definitely diminished with this for the time being.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, the Weather Service certainly seems to think so too. I mean, they would not, a special weather statement can sometimes be a precursor to a warning. I mean, it was in the case of the South Carolina storm, but the fact that they opted for the special weather statement over the tornado warning looks right now to be the correct call. You don't want to falsely warn on these things. You don't want to. I don't want to say falsely warn. That's not the. You just want to. You want to err on the side of caution, but you also want to make sure that people are going to get the warning and do something with it, and not issue so many that they ignore it.
Well, especially in this environment, Jared, we've touched on it. This would be one of those environments where we'd see a quick spin up, and it wouldn't be on the ground, a couple of minutes and already dissipate. So I think in these kind of setups, it's always good to take that cautious approach and go ahead and send that warning out, and just to make sure that people are paying attention and ready to seek shelters.
Yeah, for sure. But Scotty just said, each successive sweep that comes in off of the radar at this point is looking weaker and weaker and weaker, which is good news.
That is. So as of 8:35 here on Thursday, June the 3rd, 2021, Jared Smith, I'm Scotty Powell. We'll go ahead and sign off the air here. So control room, if you want to go ahead and start getting things keyed up, we will definitely go back to our Carolina weather net, and Jared and myself will be monitoring radar throughout the evening. And if something pops back up, we can pop back in. But for now, everything looks to be all good if you live in the PD region, and just watch out for some heavy rain out there, as you all have experienced a lot of heavy rain already. So be mindful of that this evening. So for Jared Smith and for everyone else at the Carolina Weather Group, I'm Scotty Powell. We hope you have a great evening and a great weekend, and we'll talk to you soon.